Australia's racing fans have enjoyed the two-year-old season and the new names emanating first from the Woodlands, Ingham era and now Darley Godolphin. They were created by the genius who is Suzanne Philcox, and some of these names, octagonal, Lonhro, forensics, are guaranteed to stay in pedigrees for generations to come. Suzanne, it's fabulous having you here at Crown Lodge at Warwick Farm in Sydney. Of course, you've had 36 years now working at Crown Lodge, basically 22 with the Inghams and 14 with Godolphin. And you've been responsible for so many of our great racehorse names in that time. You must be proud. I mean, when you sit back and you look at, say, race results or races named after champion horses that you've named.
Yes, I do. And also when I'm even at the races and you look at the pedigree of other people's horses and they're connected to horses I've named. Two standouts, of course, are Octagonal and Lonhro. But even one like Waikikamuka, who was a gelding, but he's still famous and he's always known for his name. He was a good racehorse, but it's his name that made him famous more than anything.
Waikikamuka, just the leader over Carry the Star.
How did you name Waikikamuka?
He's by clear choice out of Empress Choreo, and I do not like names that would be like Clear Emperor or Clear Choreo, or joining the two mother and fathers together. The mare had 3 horses before that which were legless. I wrote it out for Jack Ingham and gave it to him to show, and he said, "What's that, Dal?" And I said, "It's pronounced Waikikamuka. It's a fantasy place in New Zealand. There is no such place, but it's 4 Maori words put together that just comes out as, in English, Waikikamuka." And we always used to say, in Australia you say you're going on a long trip, you're going beyond the Black Stump, yep, or the Backaburg. In New Zealand it's going to Waikikamuka.
Fantastic. Well, you just mentioned Jack Ingham and his famous Dal. And you did name Hello Dal, who was a good filly as well.
Absolutely.
Some great names that are named after the people you've been involved with.
Yes, yeah, and I think that makes it more personal for everybody, certainly in the company. Hello Dal she was a sweet mare.
Saintly and Octagonal, Beedman throwing everything at Octagonal, he gets there, yes, Octagonal wins the Derby.
And Octagonal, as you said, of course, that was just a sensational name. Zabeel out of 8 Carat, he was a 10-time Group 1 winner, and Lonhro too was the fabulous one, tiny but perfect, of course, named after Tiny Roland. The company stock exchange code was Lonhro, but with the R and the H in a different order to the Lonhro we know. Why did you change the spelling?
Deliberately misspelt because Lonhro, the London Rhodesia Mining Company in London, were famous for being very litigious. And last thing we needed was them coming after us using Lonhro. So that's why he was HRO at the end, just to avoid that. But apparently I had several friends who worked in London, the City of London, who said that the company always followed his races. The London Rhodesia Company, and they every time he won, they said they could hear the cheers from their building.
Yeah, well, he won the 11 Group 1s and is now, of course, he was a Horse of the Year, one of those rare stallions, champion stallion and a Horse of the Year as well. Sire of Piero, Denman, Kementari, Swayness now, mares such as Beaded, Heatherly, Obsequious, and as you say, these names are all in so many horses running at the moment.
Absolutely, and also it's very rare that Octagonal, Horse of the Year, Sire's a Horse of the Year, Lonhro. Yeah.
So, Command, Strategic,
Doomsday,
Unworldly, Doomsday.
Yes.
Unworldly was wonderful. Quest for Fame from Spirit. She won the T-Rose, the Furious and the Flight. And of course she did die too young. But that again was a perfect name for a champion filly.
Yes, it was. And she was such a lovely personality herself as well.
It's Nature's Strip and Bivouac who explodes.
Names that you've named here at Darley, of course, through the era of Godolphin Darley. Dazzler, we know, the mother of Bivouac. We'll have a look at her latest offspring too. Epaulette, Treps, of course, who's the dam of trapeze artists. So again, that's that ongoing legacy into another, now a stallion.
Yes, exactly. And the Trep is a German for staircase. So marching, crawl, old man, and then Trapeze is later on, yes, as a filly.
So how does it work here at Godolphin? Obviously, you have to check with the stud book and check with the Registrar of Racehorses through Racing Australia. When you're going to name your own horse, you can sort of get an idea of how long ago a name was actually used. But tell us the process. Some people that may not have owned a horse might be really interested in what you actually have to do to secure a name.
Basically, a horse's name is taken for 17 years. If he's a gelding, after 10 years, you can have a duplicate of that name. So if you've got Sing on one horse and he's now over 10 years old, you can have Sings or Singing. The mares are blocked for 25 years, stallions are for 50 years. If the horse was a Group 1 winner like Octagonal or Lonhro, they are blocked for 100 years. So that's what you're looking at. And you can go on the Riser Racing Australia site and there's a section there, name availability, and you can put in your name that you want and you can see whether you can get it or not.
And how much time does that take? I mean, how many of the names, because they're very clever names that you come up with, we'll touch on in a minute, but how many of the names do you go, hang on, that's taken, that's taken, that's taken? It's quite a process.
A lot of names, and it does make it a lot easier that you can check. I would say that, like this year, I've named 114 horses or yearlings, of which probably 60 I would have had to go back and back and back, checking. No, can't have it. Go again. That I probably worked on that one horse for 7, 8, 9, 10 names before I got one that was available to use.
Well, this is a very special filly, isn't it? This is the half-sister to Animo by Blue Point, who's doing a fabulous job already in the Northern Hemisphere. But how wonderful from Animato. Of course, we know she was a Group 1 winning mare. And hasn't she done a great job as a broodmare?
Yes, she has. This one's name is Blue Willow, from the China pattern of the blue lovers on the bridge. So
yes.
Hopefully it'll mean something, won't it?
Yes. And how long do you spend a name like that to actually work out what you want? Does it just sort of come to you, or do you have to do a lot of research?
I was sort of working on the Blue Point side of it, so I went through quite a lot of blue horses or blue names, and yeah, then I have to send the list to Joe Osborne in England, in Ireland, sorry,
yes.
and he has to approve which ones he likes. So
Yes.
and he quite liked this Blue Willow for her. So yeah. But that's where she gets her name from.
Yeah, and I believe Joe actually named Animo, though,
yes,
wasn't
he did.
you, with
yes,
Animo?
No, yeah, Joe named him. He's after a small village near where Joe lives in Ireland.
Yeah.
And that Animo is only spelt with one N. No, two N's, sorry. The horse is one N, the the village is two N's, yeah.
Fascinating. So how did he come to have the choice of the name?
Well, he's the boss.
Right, fair enough. And we've just filmed the gorgeous Animo at stud. I mean, what a wonderful racehorse he's been. But what does it mean to you when you see them, you know, when they're first retired to stud? There's all that potential of, can they be the next, you know, Lonhro and a champion sire, or, you know, an Exceed and Excel, or where are they going to sit? How do you see a horse like Animo going as a stallion?
I think he'll do very well, because we know that his grandsire, Street Cry, is extremely successful. His own sire, Street Boss, is doing very well, and particularly with females. So Animo is a bit of an aberration, if you like, because it is the females that have been doing better. But I think he'll do great as a sire.
But a lot of the horses that you're naming, the mares might not have won the Group 1s themselves, but they have been able to. I mean, a horse such as Dazzler, of course, we looked at Fabergé by Exceed and Excel, the full relation to Bivouac, but Dazzler herself, she's done a great job, but wasn't a Group 1 winner.
No, and not really a top racehorse either. But perhaps that's helped, because she hasn't been raced that much, so she's got more to give her foals. So we'll go on that theory anyway.
We saw a beautiful colt by Blue Point out of Essaouira called Caravanserai, a really sensible, lovely colt. You know, you look at this horse and think he just has everything from pedigree to type to attitude to be a really good horse. But Caravanserai, how did you arrive at that name?
I had actually been reading a book recently about Lawrence of Arabia, and the word caravanserai was used in that several times with the Arab movement for Ibn Saud. And so I thought, oh, that's a good name. And Essaouira, the dam, is in Tangiers or along the North African coast there, and so that's where the caravans do travel between that and Egypt. So yeah, that's how it came up.
And what about previous, Elise Astern from her, who both were multiple Group 1 winners?
Because Essaouira is called one of the windiest places in Africa, and Elise's a wind. Astern, well, that was actually, I was so desperate for a name at the end there. I'd gone through about 40 names for that horse, and in the end, I just looked up what's available on the stud book. Didn't matter, didn't have to mean anything. And Astern, so no real meaning for his name, but just desperation.
And another full brother to Bivouac is Hello Phenomena. And again, we had Dizzy Gillespie out here talking about, they all have the similar sort of bulbous kind of eye. But tell me, that name too, Halo Phenomena rather, how does that come about?
Well, I didn't name him. Kate Lindsay, who's one of the girls at Kelvinside, she named him, sent it in, and every now and then we try to include other staff members' suggestions. And so she got one in.
Lonro from Wordcraft, of course, she's a daughter of forensics as well. Polyglot.
Yeah, the ability to speak several languages, which is Wordcraft, I suppose.
Yeah, and forensic detail in it.
Yes, well, she was out of True Blonde.
That's right.
And if you're checking somebody out and you're going through the body, the corpse, you're checking whether the blonde was real or not. So that's forensics.
Fantastic.
Octagonal, a 3-year-old fighting back at Mahogany are locked together. Mahogany, Octagonal as they go to the line. Octagonal.
He was a very quiet horse, quite babyish for a long time. Even as a 4-year-old stallion, I was leading him around out there, and I'm not a horse person, but he was the sweetest personality. But the thing that got him was that at the 1994 Caracas sales, Trevor Lobb and John Hawkes were there buying for the Inghams, and Trevor had Octagonal out of the box probably 3 times to look at him, and he went and got John and he said, "You've got to come and look at this horse and tell me what you think of his eye." And they both agreed that the eye was the key to the horse, because it was so intelligent, so calm, and he just spoke presence, but he was not an aggressive or not a overt type of horse at all, and that's why they got him, why they bought him.
And we've seen Elise, the original one, Essaouira's dam, so grandmother of Elise and Astern, at Darley Woodlands in the Hunter Valley. And it's great to see this generational breeding on the dam side, isn't it? To build a broodmare band, and for you, seeing those names all the way through, it's a really important thing.
I think it is, because you know what you're going to get, basically, by the time you've got your grandmother, by the time that third foal comes along, or as a racehorse, you know what you're going to get, probably. And that's important. If you're a serious breeder, you want to be breeding something that is going to either have stamina or speed, or both, but also have the will to win. And that's the important part. And a mare like Essaouira, although she herself was unraced due to injury, I believe, she's passed on that will to win to all her progeny.
Yeah, it's a great staff though, isn't it? There's a lovely feel around, Darley with the studs we were at a lot, but here at Crown Lodge and Osborne Park, it's a great sort of vibe, isn't it, amongst all the staff?
Yes, there is. And that's because of the horses. They all love horses. They want them to win. They want them to be successful. And they do their best to make sure the horses are there. Yeah. No, it's a wonderful place.